Okay, there we go. After a little bit of technical glitch there. Welcome to HangarReady. I'm JC, your main host, and with me tonight is a lot of people. Jolly, how are you doing this evening?
I'm
This
doing
is afternoon,
outstanding.
actually.
A great day.
Yep,
315.1 is out, and I'm enjoying it.
good. And Namidius, how are you doing? Good. You having fun with 315? Great. And Joshua? Must be nice. You must not be a Marine. And Azuzu, how are you doing? Hey, I have hair. Yes, yeah. Nobody else knows what shampoo is. And and Azuzu, this is the first time you've been on the main show, but you've been on Fighter Mafia a couple times, and yes, and okay, that's weird. Um,
Well,
Azusa,
that's
will you
all that
talk?
matters. Jay and Jolly. Oh, thank God.
Okay, hold on a second. Jolly, go full screen of Jolly. Let him entertain him for a second.
All righty. Anyways, Azuzu, what Azuzu is saying is that he's one of the more follically enhanced humans that we have on this organization. And so we appreciate that. Whereas Josh, myself, Gnome, to be honest, we're a little bit jealous there. And so be it. It's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm all right with that. Azuzu, can you hear me at all?
Oh, I can hear you just fine. It would appear no one else does. I can't believe that anecdote has been wasted on you five.
This may be intentional that both you and Josh cannot be heard. So I think it's something that Jay established, just it's the way it's supposed to be. There's no problem with that.
Can you guys hear Joshua now?
Yes, they should be able to hear everybody now.
Okay.
So, okay, let's try this one more time here. Yeah, how are you doing? Polly, can they hear you?
Testing. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think they can hear you.
All right.
So, this is your first time being on the show. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
All right. I'm Polly, Director of Mission Support Services. Been with ADI for a little over 3 years now, I think.
Yep. And we get to talk to you about medical stuff, since that's kind of your
Yes.
specialty right now.
Finally have some game mechanics.
So, after that interesting to do an intro, let's now that we seem to be working and everybody can hear everybody. McGee is saying he can hear Azuzu just fine, and then he has a frowny face. So, oh wait,
It
is
should be. It should be a frowny face.
It scares me.
It scares me a lot too. Let's talk about segment number one, which is the Expo. Yesterday was Anvil. Today is RSI. Tomorrow is Aegis. 22nd is Alien Day. 23rd is Crusader Tumbling. 24th is Origin. And there should be a graphic up for this. 25th is Industrial. 26th is Drake. 27th is Misk. Day 10 is Best in Show. And then basically the 11th through the 13th is Buy Stuff days. So, Jolly, what are your thoughts on all the time and effort they put into the Expo? And do you think it's really worth all the programming effort?
Yes, I'll say yes, because quite simply, doing the same thing this year as they did last year, using Microtech again. So they didn't have to make something new. They did change things around. They obviously changed the ships that were there. There's a really nice graphic about Microtech. There's a big, you can see Microtech right there in one of the displays. So it's nice, but yeah, it's been there, done that for the most part. I appreciate their effort. I also appreciate the fact that they didn't waste too much time. They simply duplicated what they've done before and put it out there. I enjoy looking at the ships. I enjoy the ability to rent the ships, buy the ships for 24 hours or so during the event. But again, I'm looking at a lot of big space out there filled with components that I can't buy. Not so sure it's that great. So, but I'm not going to ding them. It still looks nice, but
I don't think it's
no
for you,
different.
Jolly. I think it's for
all
new people.
about me, Josh.
No, it's for new people and for people who don't spend every possible dime on Star Citizen to rent and test ships. I know your hangar is full of them, so you don't care.
Nom, what are your thoughts on the Expo day weeks every year, or 2 weeks?
Well, I think they're worth it as long as it works. And this year, unlike other years, they seem to have gotten the patch out where it's in a stable state. And
that is a first.
Right. And I think that's why we'll talk about it later, but there was an easy anti-cheat they were trying to load into the 3.15.1 patch. And the very last build, they removed it because they simply couldn't get past certain issues they were having for some edge cases, people who weren't going to be able to play. So they stripped that out in favor of making sure they didn't break live just in time for the show, which I'm glad that they got that mindset now. And that is amazing. The worst thing you of all times, this is when you want the game to be its most stable, when you have new people getting their first experience.
I would agree completely. It's for the last 4 years they've been doing this Expo. It's every year the patch is a mess. You're lucky if 10% of the people can get in and check it out. Polly, what are your thoughts on the Expo every year? You like it? Dislike it?
I do. I like it. Matter of fact, I was just walking around there a little bit ago. Saw the hologram of the Liberator, and they got a hologram of the Scorpius as well right now, which is kind of cool. I'm still not going to buy it, and it doesn't look anything like an RSI ship, but it is kind of cool.
Yep. And Azusu, what are your thoughts?
I think we need to call it what it is. It is a ship sale. It's a showroom, and it's an opportunity for people to see what they hope to sell. So yeah, I like it. Specifically this year, I really like the flooring, that wooden flooring. I don't know why, but I like it. And the signs as well. You can walk up to some of the signs. They've got text on it, but there's also a play button. And you can play and it will talk the audio back, which is absolutely superb. I've not seen that in game. I quite like that. It's a nice little touch. And if they're using the Expo to bring about those kind of little tweaks and new bits of tech, then I'm all for it. I still wish there was a bit more gameplay involved around the show, so that I could invite other people to play. But at the moment, it's still a car lot. And hopefully in the future it'll evolve into a big event.
We could only hope. And Josh, what are your final thoughts on the Expo?
Well, I think it doesn't matter because it works. If you watch the fundraising links and you see that they bring more money, and I'm happy for it. I'm happy they do the free fly. I actually wish they would allow a free fly event throughout the year where maybe you only could fly some of the starter ships or something to give people an event. But I think it creates excitement, and I think it's a good thing. So I may not enjoy it as much as I did the first time, but I don't think it's all for me or you. I think it's a lot for the new people and people to rent ships. So I'm all for it.
Jay, real quick, final comment. Yep. They should have done it at Orison. Point blank, they want us to go there. If they had done it there, we'd be there.
Well, but thank God they didn't, because Orison's such a nightmare to get in and out of.
It sucks to get in and out of, but
yes,
it's really pretty.
It
clouds
is beautiful,
and et cetera and stuff like that.
Although, and I think we're going to talk about this. I think that New Babbage is a lot prettier now with the new volumetric clouds.
Yep.
Yes.
That's my personal opinion. So, what do you think, Nom? Do you agree? Volumetric clouds beneficial or no real change?
No, it
New
makes a
beverage.
huge difference, and I got some pictures when we get to that that kind of demonstrates just what it does to the appearance of it as you approach the planet.
Okay. And, you know, Oli, I'm going to put you on the spot. What are your thoughts on why they didn't do it at Orison?
Well, I'm not truly sure about Orison as a destination. It seems like it's a little bit difficult to get in and out of, and quite frankly, last time I was there, I couldn't get ATC to talk to me. I must not have paid my parking fines or something. I don't know. So I wound up having to leave and head back up to Olisar. As far as the volumetric clouds go, every time I've been to Microtech since it's launched, it's been dark, so I haven't been able to see them.
Really?
Yeah, I know, right? It's good timing.
That's
good timing.
Yeah, bad timing. Bad timing all around. And I'm going to be honest. I got into 3.15.1 quite a bit, working on uniform stuff for ADI. Still not done. And you know, it's the volumetric clouds look nice at New Babbage. They really do. I was kind of pleasantly surprised. But Orison is in such a deep gravity well that it's hard to justify flying down there to visit it, even though it is pretty as all get out.
Yeah. I think there's another thing about Orison that made it a bad idea this time, at least. Port Olisar is still Port Olisar, and if it was at Orison, it would have drawn a lot more noobs there, and it would have been a griefer's paradise. It's already kind of crazy there right now.
It's very crazy there, right?
It would be that would be a bad first experience for a lot of people to be getting pad rammed at Olisar.
Yeah, and I don't know what they're going to do about that long term. I really
hangars.
Well, yeah,
they're
going to have to replace the Port Olisar, which will make it no longer Port Olisar, because the whole reason people stayed with Port Olisar is you spawned in a bed, you ran downstairs, you pulled the ship, and you were in the ship all in a matter of 30 to 50 seconds. And when they start putting hangars and elevators and all that stuff there, it'll be it won't be the same. It won't be as good.
Right.
So
they're just going to slap an R&R there.
I do a lot of testing, and I got to tell you, the time frame for doing all their testing out of Port Olisar is why I like that place. You have quick access to ground vehicles at a place like Daymar. And I think that it's if you're going to get in the game and actually see how things work and break them down, you don't want to be spending half your time on a train.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yep.
There's also no convention center at Orison. There's nowhere for them to actually hold the event.
Oh, come on. Use your imagination. They could put them outside. It could be an outdoor event.
Yeah, but that takes development time. And I think they wanted to just kind of... But I think what they've done is enough development time that every single landing zone having an expo hall because of the cycle of the new landing zone this year. Just that's where the expo has to be. That's not what it's going to be. These centers need to be just a few and unique, and yeah, that works for me. I don't think we needed that this year.
No. It's not like they're going to do that in Pyro anyway, because they're going to have an expo in Pyro. I don't see that happening.
Well, everything's going to end up on bricks.
Pirate Expo.
Mark my words. Next year, it will be at Orison. No question about it. It will definitely be at Orison. There's no way around it. So, okay, guys. We're sorry for the technical issues. I think that's us talking about the expo. If you guys have questions about the expo, and I'm sure there are some, or your thoughts on that you want to hear from us on the expo or Orison or any of those things, throw them out in the chat. We're going to go to break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about what's actually new in 3.15.1. Hey, and welcome back from our little break there while we fix some technical difficulties. And Josh is here to talk to us about 3.15.1. So Josh, take it over.
So obviously we've got a few new ships, and the Redeemer being one of them that obviously won the contest. I don't remember how many years ago that was, to design a ship from the members. And I don't know that the ship design is something that aesthetically I like, but I do like the idea of it being a gunship. I did fly it around. It made me feel like I was flying a C-130 gunship. It seems to maneuver about like one. Those big guns, fully turreted or manned with the turrets, would make a very powerful offensive weapon against other ships, or for anti-troop or anti-ground, some type of CAS mission. But it is a good thing that the shields on that are the equivalent of a Karak, because it moves very slow. I think it would not avoid a missile down an atmosphere very well, and I think it would take a lot of fire real easily. So I'm excited to see that ship in game. I'm excited to see the role that it's going to play. Obviously, there's been some videos out about it, and I'm glad to see the progress of it. Though I do wonder, I still don't understand how the engines work in the rear, where the little nacelle things open up and they sort of push toward each. I don't understand how that works, but I'm just going to accept it. It just doesn't make sense to me. So what do you guys think about the Redeemer?
Well, I hate it. I think it's the most worthless piece of crap out there. That's just me. But I've felt that way since the beginning. I thought that whole, game show-esque Sandy Ran mess was a complete waste of backer money. And I think they should have thrown the ship out with the bathwater. Jolly, what are your thoughts on the Redeemer?
Jay's wrong. Okay.
I may very well be wrong. Yes.
I believe it is an outstanding ship. I think it's nice to have a full crew. Keep by, you don't need to have 4 humans there. 3 will do fine, because the top turret is not manned. The pilot gets control of those guys. I went out there, I flew it around for a while. It's a hell of a killer. And if you add 2 more people into your ship, all of a sudden you're a massive killer machine. So I'm happy about it. I think it's what's it's been equipped with is pretty solid, so I'm happy with that. I no problems there. It is not a drop ship, point blank. It is not a drop ship. The Prowler is a drop ship. The Valk is kind of a drop ship in terms of if you want to take 4 Marines with you on that Redeemer, you can. They have to get out of their seat. They have to go downstairs, move to the back, blah, blah, blah. It's not an instant offload type of thing. They can still do it, but then again, I can point to the Valkyrie, which carry 20 Marines, and still they're at the front of the ship. If you want to offload them quickly, they have to get out of their seats, go to the back, get near the ramp, get ready to offload. So it's a drop ship still, but not a quick drop ship, not a Prowler type thing. But I think the ship is solid. It's got a 2 S2 of everything out there, decent quantum drive. I think it's a pretty solid one. Well done by RSI on this one.
What do you think about using it for CAS?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. But make sure you're fully manned on the ship. Yeah. Make sure they know. So you can't do a pilot type of CAS. You got to have gunners in there to drop those guns down below to fire at the points you need to fire at.
Yeah, when I was flying it, I kind of envisioned having to circle it around like a C-130 would and have like your left side maybe pointing to the target, keeping as much distance as you can, and then having the turrets engage. I think...
yeah, enough angle of bank, get the left side and the top turret engaged on the target.
Yeah, maybe like, increase the shields to that side or something. But to me, that felt like a role that ship would perform well.
Yeah, I got a question on that. It said CAS, close air support. What about CAP?
It's not very maneuverable. If you man all the turrets again, you can cover all the degrees out there, but I'm not sure I'd use it as a cap ship, but
maybe against larger ships that don't maneuver as well, but against little fighters, you don't have a chance.
A ton of S3s, that's nice, but I'm not sure I'd take that against a cap ship.
I'm sorry, I meant
not a cap ship.
My ground suppression. Talking about.
Yeah,
well,
yes.
That's CAS again.
Sorry, CAS. I'm sorry, I got it backwards.
Yeah, a CAS ship, as Joshua were talking about.
Yeah, you're right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would take the Redeemer in. Cap? No, I would not.
Okay.
Ships like this really worry me because I feel that they will be pushed to be heavily used as to push this multi-crew role. But it always concerns me about if they're too overpowered. That heavy shield really concerns me because the more and more they're incentivized over smaller fighters, the less likely we are to see those winged groups of fighters in the game. If you can just take one of these big ships and it's a mobile fortress, it's got longer range, it's got survivability, it's got bigger shields, it reduces the incentive to use light fighters. So you can mark this down on your calendars. That thing's going to get nerfed, and I mean that significantly. That shield is going for a start. There's no way they're going to do that. If 4 people can annihilate 4+ light fighters in it, then it has to change. And I think they will. And that's something in the future CIG are really going to have to work on, that balance between single fighters and multi-crew ships.
I'm going to be honest, Isuzu, against light fighters or medium fighters, I just don't see it surviving crew to crew. I mean, it's
not that maneuverable.
It's not very maneuverable. It
but
goes
the turrets,
through hydrogen.
I think those turrets make a huge difference.
Are deadly.
The turrets
They're
are
absolutely deadly at the moment, and we've seen it with the Hurricane. The Hurricane's top turret is absolutely lethal when put against light fighters. That it just annihilates them, and that's just a 2-seater ship. This is like the next tier up from that Hurricane, and I think at the moment it brings some serious pain.
I think you're just feeling insecure, Zuzu.
But the flip side of that is there's this huge.
Is that my wife talking?
Here would be my argument, and that is that there is a huge cone of unprotection in a very unmaneuverable ship towards the rear and down. If you're attacking up and from the rear to that ship, those turrets don't do you any good.
Yeah,
you have very little coverage to the rear.
Zuzu, real quick, I think the fully banned Redeemer is 4 humans, right? And so
I believe so. Yeah,
4 arrows against the Redeemer. The arrow's going to win.
2 will do it.
So carried away.
Not with the way the current weapon mechanics. You run out of firepower before the shields on big ships just recharge. So it's going to have to be very well coordinated. I see those bigger ships being highly successful with the way that the weapon and power mechanics are currently in game.
And see, I would think that gladiators, once they give us the ability to load dumb bombs on them, will be the best cast mechanic out there. You have a huge loadout of medium and heavy bombs, theoretically, if they let us do that you can load onto a gladiator, and it's got good hang time. It's got a turret to protect itself. I would use that for cast when it comes.
Those bombs are coming. They're actually in the store. You just can't equip them on anything.
Correct. And so, my 2 cents worth is that you're going to see pairs of gladiators, pairs of eclipses, things like that are going to be used for casts. Now it'll be CCRP, or CCIP. You're going to basically have to, line up on the target and drop your bomb as you fly over it. But against infantry and light vehicles, that'll be deadly. Even from something as small as a gladiator. And
McGee makes a good point in chat. He does say that, and I will admit when I'm wrong, he does bring up the Ion and the Inferno. That big size 7 gun on a ship like the Redeemer would be really successful. So yeah, I take that point on board.
Yep, and so I don't see it as especially against nimble fighters. I don't see apples to apples that it's overpowered. That's my opinion. I don't like it. I still think it should be on the trash heap of history, but
Isuzu just wants to kill everything in a single fighter with his dual joysticks and claim victory for the world. I understand.
We know.
Yes, I do. That's not news to anybody.
No, I just don't know if everyone knows that, right? So we have to understand
they should
his.
Watch the Fighter Mafia one.
Yeah.
We covered that extensively.
His
Go
biased
back
perspective.
and view the library. Yeah, I need to get that written up on the wall behind me. That's a good.
Fighters rule the world. Got it.
Polly, what do you think of the Redeemer?
I actually like it, to be honest. I think I'm still interested to see how that 2 SEU cargo space works. It looks like it lowers from the chassis and it comes back up, which will be cool if that's true. And if they apply the modularity, which was discussed when the ship was concepted, change it out for different mission profiles. I think that could be quite interesting to see how it plays out. When I first walked around in it and I was looking at the location of the bunks, you've only got four. You've got the four jump seats, then you've got a pilot. So somebody's hot racking. You got that going for you. But I mean, I looked at the ship overall. Where those seats are and where the exit is not great for a jump ship kind of setup. But if you were using it as like a small specialized squad insertion ship, I can see that kind of being useful, where you have the ability to travel long distances, get behind enemy lines, drop off in a stealthy location, and then push in on foot to accomplish some sort of special ops mission with a low impact squad.
No, I agree with you really big time. The crew is 4, okay? If you have a full crew, pilot, the top gunner, 2 remote gunners, and those 4 other seats for Marines. And so the ejection seats are for the crew. And the Marines, well, come on.
They're extras.
It's red shirts. Let's just get rid of them.
They're expendable, huh?
I wouldn't say that out loud, Jolly.
Passengers.
Come on. You're going to be a Marine. You're expendable.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
Well,
I wish there was some vehicle, even if it was just big enough to carry a Cyclone or something to move the ground team around on would be nice.
yeah. The 6 Bravo asks a good question about punching holes in shields means using ballistics, right? Not energy. Well, that's a good segue to the Aries Ion, which actually is focused directly on that question. I did some testing and posted some videos that you can see at my YouTube channel, and I tried to keep up because they kept making changes for balances and adjustment. The Ion, as you see here, has a very, very large size 7 gun. I don't know the current number of rounds that are available on that ship. It's changed. I do know that if you increase the power management to your weapons, it increases the number of rounds that you have, and it still recharges relatively fast in my last test, but I know they've changed it again. So we'll keep seeing what that balance is. But to answer the question, in theory, the lasers should take out the shields and the ballistics should punch through the armor. All right, do I have that backwards?
Nope, you got it right.
You're
Okay, I got
right.
it right. Yeah. Now, armor on ships, which we don't have yet, should be resistive to bullets pretty well. So the Ion, I think, is a beautiful ship. I love the concept. For both ships, the obvious comparison is the A10, which we'll talk about more in a second. But I do think that they are going to perform 2 different roles. And I even performed a test where I took both an Ion and Inferno up against an 890 to see what would happen. And so I'm really glad to see these ships in. I think the gun around it reminds me very much of the A10 design. Joni, if you want to bring up the A10 pictures, the A10 and the A10 too.
Did you take these in DCS by any chance?
No, I did not. But here's a good example of, a real world inspiration that, is a gun that was literally put into a airplane. And so while it's a little bit of a, multi-role more so than, say, the A10 is, I do think it's interesting. If you want to show the next picture as well, it's a nice cutaway to show that inside of there. So I'm very happy about both of these ships. I do think that, for me personally, I want to see the interaction between these ships and ground vehicles, which we're going to talk about the new ground vehicle here in a second, the Spartan. But I want, this is my dream. I want to be in my Inferno, and I want some expendable Marines on the ground calling in for some type of close air support that maybe the Redeemer can't handle, and, come in, shoot out a tonk or whatever, save the day and fly off and be happy. And I think this ship gives that possibility. In fact, in a tease here in a minute, we'll show that actually occurring against a Spartan. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you feel that the Inferno is going to fill a casserole, or do you guys think that these ships are only going to work against capital ships?
I believe the Inferno is meant for capital ships, not the casserole. I say that for the simple reason it's fixed, and you come in there, you can certainly load off a ton of rounds there, but you have to pull off again and bring it back in. I'm not sure it's going to do a good casserole because it's not gimbaled or not turreted, one or the other. It's just a matter of the pilot getting it right, and so.
It just depends on how
see.
maneuverable.
You're going to
it is,
have to hold that position and be willing to take fire. Absolutely. I mean, if you're not right on target, you're going to have some serious issues.
And close, the accuracy really drops off with distance.
I think it could be used for casts, but I think it's going to be there'll be better aircraft for it than that. We'll have to wait and see. For some heavy ground vehicles like a tank or one of these new APCs, it may be the right ticket, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I have an Inferno. I don't have an Ion yet. I'll probably have an Ion by the end of this damn event. God damn you. But I went out there and I fired away. I emptied every single round I had, 3,800 rounds on the Inferno. Went back, let's see how much it's going to cost me. It's about 385 credits. And I thought,
it's not that
bad.
No, that's pretty good.
It took about 2,000 rounds to blow up an 890 under the current build. So you can kill an 890 for, $200.
Polly, what are your thoughts as we see money flying across your webcam there?
Just a general comment on this game. It certainly loves my credit card. Both of those ships, I personally would not buy them, but that's just because it's not the kind of gameplay I'm interested in. I certainly see their utility, and against in a fleet op, I think they would be deadly. I certainly would not want to be in front of them. From a CAS standpoint, if they were turreted, that would be much more useful. But then again, they're aside from helicopters with side door-mounted guns or the AC-130, any cast that you're going to get is going to be exactly that. It's strafe, nose on, take what's coming at you, hope they don't work through the cockpit canopy while you offload your rounds. So from that standpoint, I think it's true to current form. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that strafing run either.
When do we get that gameplay? I'm ready.
If I was in a Tonk or a Ballista and one of those was coming, I would get out because he's not going to be chasing me running. He's definitely going to be chasing that big boxy thing on the ground.
You'd be calling in your friends in the heavy fighters to come take them out.
Yeah, and pray they get there in time.
Yeah.
The truth is that I think that, for those particular types of ships, they're going to be against static targets or large vehicles. I don't think you'll be going after infantry with ballistics like that. And the truth is, I think a Gladiator is a much more dangerous, with dumb bombs will be much more dangerous.
If you've got an entrenched position and you run down the length of the trench with that, you can wipe out a company easy.
Oh yeah.
Now currently, so I tested this when I was making some videos, trying to get some cool shots of the rounds hitting. I don't think there's any splash damage on those rounds. There certainly isn't the explosive type rounds you'd see like on an A-10. I do hope they include that so it can work against ground troops. Because again, I want to fly in and shoot stuff and they die, right?
That's
one of the
are
sledgehammer that kills everything.
Yes, everything. I point and shoot and it dies. It's that simple. Where do I throw my money?
I think we need to acknowledge that it is a beautiful looking ship. That frame of that ship is gorgeous. Really shows the progression of the ship pipeline, that every new ship that comes out, let's park the Redeemer for now, every new ship that comes out does tend to look better and better and better, and the cooling and the vents and the way they've integrated the missiles. I think it's a beautiful looking ship, and I think it's great as well. I took my Inferno out 3,800 rounds. I had a whale of a time. I think it's a great ship, lots of fun to fly. How practical in game, we'll see. Against some of the bigger ships, I think it'll be really effective.
Wait a minute, we have to stop the entire show. The 6 Bravo says he's curious to see if we're going to get Mavericks. That suggests that we could have a targeting pod. I think we have a viewer.
Oh, good God.
As a viewer that agrees
Everyone
with
drink.
me.
Good googly moogly.
Oh, no more targeting pod, Josh. They're not going to give it to you. It's just not going to happen.
I'm just saying, like, if you really want cast, it's a great weapon, and Mavericks would be great. And if you want the Gladiator to be an awesome ship with its size 5 missiles, you're going to need a way to target beyond visual range. So I'm just saying.
You say that, but, I think a Gladiator, an A10 is dangerous at visual range. I can only imagine how dangerous a Gladiator is.
Yes. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Just dive bomb in, drop 2 or 3, pickle off 2 or 3, and then pull out and do rinse and repeat until it's a smoldering wreck.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. I'll bring 4 with me.
So let's go on and move. Let's move on and talk about the new Ballista Chassis Apc.
So,
which I'm excited about.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited because being in the Atlas Defense Industries research arm, I want to see more game mechanics. One of the limitations we have right now is the detection of vehicle ranges by ships is pathetic, and it prevents us from really doing ground ops and missions. Now, I do believe that there is a valid reason for ground vehicles that goes beyond just some of the basic peripherals like, anti-air and bad weather, and we'll talk about that. But I want to see the full game mechanic of being able to bring these vehicles down to the ground, working in concert with your air support and taking on a bunker or an outpost or accomplishing a mission. And I think this particular vehicle is going to add that capability to a great extent. But I do have a couple of problems with it. Number one, can we show the luggage and backpacks image, please? So inside of this vehicle, they have a spot for your luggage, like you're going on vacation, which I'm not exactly sure what the inspiration for that is. I get the idea. Maybe it's just, a propaganda thing. But I really want to know where your troops put their luggage, or not their luggage, their backpacks. I don't see a spot for that. I guess you can put them in those luggage rack areas. But then there is also no gun rack. So I guess you're going to be holding it in your hand as you sit back there bouncing around.
There's a gun rack built into each seat.
Oh, built
next to the seat.
Right there next to each seat.
So I missed it. Okay. Yep. I'll have to go back.
That's a gun rack right there in between each seat.
Is that what? Oh, okay. So that is a gun rack there. Yes. Okay. So I missed it. My error. Anyhow, I do want to see that role come in. But I do have some concerns because the only ship right now that can carry this is a Hercules. And I think that this would be a perfect addition to a Valkyrie with 20 seats and to be able to carry at least 8 troops. Right now, you can only carry an Ursa and you have 20 and then 4 troops inside. So the addition of the first level of a APC with a size 2 dual Gatlings on top, I think is great. But I think they need to expand the ships that can carry it. And I think that they need to, consider at least some kind of option that has more troops and similar capabilities for a Valkyrie. What do you guys think about that?
You are so spot on in terms of the Valk being able to carry 20 Marines, but the only vehicle they can carry is 8. And even if I go to Cyclones, it's even less than that. So you're right on that, Josh. I must agree with what you're saying there. But the fact that the Spartan is the same size as the Ballista, and we know those things can only go on an A2, M2, A2, or C2, I understand. And to be honest, that's maybe that's where the M2 comes into play, not the A2, but the M2. And so we load those things on an M2 to do an actual assault on a location. So you're not wrong in what you're saying. I'm just saying I understand why the Valk is limited to an Ursa or a couple of Cyclones, and you have to go to the M2 in order to really use these type of ships, vehicles, I should say.
Well, and it's clearly going to fit on a Liberator. So
Yes.
that would be the other offloading platform. I'm going to be honest, love it. And I understand why they got it out so quickly by using the Ballista Chassis. Excuse me, guys. But my big issue is that we need an alternative to this that can carry 6 to 8 people in a much smaller form factor, in my opinion. I mean, you really just, need a, something with a smaller, an Ursa kind of footprint, but extra seats.
And in my view, the design, they could have made this thing 20 to 30% shorter, which would solve a lot of that problem. It would make it just short enough to fit in I think that would make it small enough to fit in like a Carrack and a few others.
Yeah, because
and the better use of the interior space, because while it's nice, each guy has his weapon next to him. That's not really an efficient use of that volume in there. They could have put one weapon rack up somewhere else for all the weapons, and put more seats in that area. And yeah.
Let's be honest, this type of vehicle is going to be useful for other than combat. It's if you're taking a mining expedition out someplace. And need to drive them somewhere, this is the vehicle to do it in. You stick, 6 or 8 miners in the back, or, 6 in the back with some security, and you drive them out to a mining location. If you're needing to transport some, exploration science guys someplace, this is going to be the vehicle to do it. You need something that's bigger than an Ursa and, smaller than this, that carries 6 to 8 people, my opinion.
Right.
It's also cheap to develop. This was the cheapest.
Oh yeah.
He just used the same frame. Yeah.
If it cost more than one person a week, I'd be surprised, because it's as they're calling it, the Atlas frame. I love the way they did that. It's it's a frame. It's a frame. Don't call us out on this. We're not recycling stuff. It's a frame, and we're going to give you other things as well, which is absolutely fine. I've got no issue with that at all. It's I think it looks great. It's a big vehicle. I knew something like this was coming. The only issue I have with it is the way the guns are controlled by the pilot. I think it would be much better to have that as a separate station. I don't know how intentional that was as a decision to make them just pilot orientated. I think that does change how that will be used.
Well, it's not just the fact that it's disorienting to try to drive and shoot at the same time, but the visibility inside of it is so limited for the driver that you really can't be effective with the guns anything other than just kind of straightforward and maybe like a 20-degree angle side to side. And you want someone who can do a remote turret and be able to go 360 with that, no question.
It does stop the guns being used as anti-aircraft, though, because you're only looking forward. They clearly want it just so that the driver isn't unprotected. But
if you got guys coming out the side or the back, you want to be able to lay down suppressive fire, and the driver
and you're not going to be able to do that with it being the driver led. So that was my biggest critique of that of the Spartan.
Yeah, lack of a vehicle commander gunner seat is in something carrying this many troops is a massive deficiency. I'm kind of surprised, and Polly, I'll pass to you throwing this out there. I'm kind of surprised they didn't do something medical. I was expecting to see like an Ursa medical edition or a Cyclone medical edition or even a Ballista medical edition. What are your thoughts there? Are you kind of surprised we didn't see that first?
Not necessarily right now. The way John Crew described it as the Atlas platform, that indicates the possibility that there could be a medical version of the Atlas. I think they could have taken one of those 2 side doors, perhaps the one on the right-hand side, and turned that into a remote turret seat, or had some sort of a drop-down arm that comes down over one of the jump seats for managing the remote turret. They could have done a couple of things with that. I do agree that it should have been a remote turret, because driver trying to drive and shoot, he has to stop one to do the other, and you become a sitting target during the transition. It's just not optimal. I've tried to drive and shoot at the same time in a cyclone, and it's murder. That's a good way to hit a rock and go flying off into space. Um, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see what they do with it. A medical, something smaller for a medical. I think I saw someone had a rendering of a medical Ursa. It had a single bed in it, and I thought that looked really cool. Give me a couple of those, and I'm all set. And I do agree that the Liberator is probably a good platform. The analog to that would be the hovercraft that the Navy uses, and those can carry APCs, a tank, and those a couple of Liberators dropping down onto the ground with fighter support, dropping those ramps, and then ballistas, Spartans, or Tonks rolling off. That could be a pretty big, an impressive display. Let's put it that way.
Well, as I see it, if you're doing large scale, ADI level kind of infantry attacks or ground assaults, you're probably looking at a 2 or 3 phase process. You're probably going to have to rely on something that allows you to come in and secure a drop zone, like a Prowler or a hoplite, something like that. And then you're going to have to scale up to bringing in your heavy equipment on M2s or C2s, depending on the environment. And then finally, Liberators would be that third wave of bringing in, large amounts of heavy equipment.
Well, I recall one of the images they showed, though, for when they were doing the advertising for the Liberator. There was a picture of the Liberator landing in what appeared to be a hot LZ. You had Tonks driving off the front ramp, firing their guns. The turret on top of the Liberator was also firing. So, and from what I understand, it's supposed to be fairly well armored. So perhaps it can be in that second stage. I wouldn't send it in the first stage.
They also showed a video of a freelancer years ago just devastating a Cutlass Black. It's propaganda,
yes.
brother.
That can't happen. It goes straight to the wind. So.
Yep.
Didn't we get a Mantis as well that was going to take down a Caterpillar at some point? We got that image too. I'm not entirely sure that flies. But we're definitely getting a ground ambulance at some point. We're getting a little ambulance. That's definitely on its way, and I think it'll be an Ursa variant. I really do.
So the next thing that really comes to my mind when I think about the Spartan, other than the fact that it is our first LTI token for this sale. So if you're thinking of a ship upgrade, you can use that as your starting point and get LTI insurance, is the survivability of this vehicle. And since I have the dream of shooting things on the ground, let's take a look at this video of the Inferno shooting the Spartan. And what you're going to see is that it's relatively quick. Now, again, this is static and more of a DPS demonstration than actual combat, because if it was moving and you're moving, it's going to be harder to hit it. But I was curious to see how long it would last, and I'd have to say it took quite a few rounds from that ship, and I think that seemed somewhat reasonable if you had that many direct hits on there. So I was kind of glad to see that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think what that looked like there seemed reasonable for survivability on a direct hit on a vehicle like that?
Against the Spartan, yeah. It's a pair of S2 guns. Now let's go against an MT or something that has missiles.
Oh yeah, then you have more hazards and a smaller target, right? And so it'd be harder. Again, this was just static display. I wanted to see how much damage it could take, but I thought it was interesting. One of my problems with ground vehicles, and I think there's plenty of good reasons to have ground vehicles, is in the video for this, when they advertised it, they said that there would be potentially turbulence, which I understand if there's high altitude turbulence, you couldn't fly in. But then I'm curious how you get vehicles down to the ground. So we can work through that. Not the hugest issue, but still some concern. Fully agree with when they said that there was anti-aircraft capabilities missiles and whatnot. And there's some functionality in there. I'd hope to see some Wild Weasel-like missions in the future. But then they gave the excuse of visibility. And if you could show the Garmin image, please. This visibility excuse, it baffles me. I mean, sure, this is on Earth and Earth is mapped. And I could see where if you go to a planet and you want this functionality, you'd have to send a ship down to map it or a probe. But modern aircraft have synthetic vision, as you can see in this image, and they can fly in zero visibility very safely when this is working. Now, I could see an even extended gameplay mechanic where you have this capability, you get down there, you take some damage to your ship, and you lose your navigational aids, and now you're in real trouble, and you got to figure out what you're going to do. But just saying visibility as an excuse, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. What do you think, Jolly?
Yeah, I think first you're right. I have to say, point blank, you're right. I'm still looking for night vision. You want GPS? Googly moogly. Come on, let's prioritize things that need to be adjusted to this game to modernize it to 21st century technology.
Hey, night vision would be nice, but what would be really nice is, I don't know, a compass and a coordinate system. How about that?
Whoa, next you're going to want waypoints.
And the ability to communicate waypoints. That would be really handy. That would be great to be able to go in and...
Wait. What if troops could laser targets?
Not going to happen.
No,
Get off of your targeting pod.
Now, as for excuses to have a vehicle, why you would have a vehicle in a situation, it does have one thing we forget about the inventory mechanics we have now. So, I mean, a ship drops off a bunch of guys, like it's just not even combat, like a cave team going to go mine, and they drop off the vehicle there with them. They have a container there to drop stuff into, any loot they find, extra ore. They can all dump that into the vehicle without having to call the ship in to unload on. So it has that use.
I'm all for ground vehicles.
Vehicles have lots of uses. I completely agree.
I'm all for it. I need things to kill. I mean, there's just no question, right? There's lots of reasons to hold the ground. I get irritated at some point with excuses or reasons that just don't make any sense and are devoid of reality.
We've been through this. It's space magic.
I know.
Space magic clouds. It's space magic air that you can't see through.
Mm-hmm.
It's space magic.
360-degree radar when a target lock can't stay on a missile. I understand completely.
Sunglasses.
Yeah,
I want to see 1943 sunglasses.
I'll send you a pair.
Anyhow,
so nice.
I really like.
As you said, they don't work in the game.
They don't work in the. I really like the ground vehicles. I like what they're doing. I just wish we could have a little more logic and rationality. And maybe I'm just asking.
That'll come with the law. They have to incentivize vehicles. They have to find a way to. Otherwise, they're just going to be irrelevant. For people are just going to stay in the air and stay in their ships. They have to find a way of doing it. You're absolutely right that the law doesn't make sense. Maybe that'll come in time. Maybe they'll look at mechanics later on. They're just looking simply to say, this area is air defenses are too strong, whether it's environmental, whether it's defended for whatever reason. You need to land, you need to get in your vehicles, and it needs to be a ground assault. Well, great. I hate to say the words, but this does scream a little bit of theatres of war. It does scream a little bit of that's why we're getting the Spartan, that's why we're getting this ground assault stuff. There's a hint of that in the back. It's like when you taste a really good beer and then suddenly realise that, there's this horrible bitter aftertaste which you really don't like. A lot of this ground mechanics does have that, oh, this is great, and then you just know that behind it all there's some theatres of war that's driving some of this development. But if we leave that to one side, they have to use and incentivize ground vehicles, and they're going to come up with some space magic to explain it. And until the law team catch up, I'm afraid you're going to be frustrated for a while.
Well, I think
he'll be frustrated permanently. I think the issue is it's not going to get better. They're just going to come up with some crazy reason for why it's bad. I think that's the long and short of it. I mean, I'm just being honest. You can put makeup on a pig, but it's still a pig. And I hope you like pork there, Josh.
Well, no, yeah, right. I mean, look, the sad thing is you don't need to make any new excuses for ground vehicles. There's tons of reasons for holding ground, for taking out AA turrets when it's so thick you can't bring in ships. Though I do want to see harm missiles and wild weasels that, go after the radar that seeks your ship, and there's a gameplay mechanic within that. So I don't know why they have to add this extra. It's like they want things to be like over imagined when there's some real basic grounded reasons.
Well, but I think the issue here is that they want to have a World War II-esque level of combat in space. And they're coming up with all these reasons why they have to have it. Nobody, including us, would ever use ground vehicles if we could land anywhere.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
It wouldn't matter how thick the AA was. We would just bomb the thing from altitude until all the AA was depleted, irradiate the whole thing, kill all the civilians, and then land and take whatever we wanted.
So first mission is Jolly takes his A2 and drops all the bombs and destroys everything. Got it.
Correct.
Somewhere my
Jolly
grandfather is rolling over thinking
two or
of the
three
Brits.
others. We drop our bombs.
Anyway.
We land. M2s drop off ground vehicles outside of the range, and they go in and take care of the whole thing. So I have to agree with Zuzu. Period. You nailed it, man.
Well, you're forgetting about the expense and time involved with bombing a location too, Jay. It might be more cost effective and resource effective to send in a vehicle like he's talking about.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, though. They're going to have to come up with a mechanic to keep people from doing that. And their mechanic is that there will be no land zones that you just aren't allowed to land in for space magic reasons. And, you can say, oh, that makes sense or that doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter. They're going to have areas where we have to drive into, period. And you're not going to be able to use air support in and out of that. And ADI is planning and thinking about that and testing those mechanics so that we can do that. It's just, they're going to force it on us, whether we like it or not. And, you can talk about all the reasons, the lore reasons why we have to do it that way, but it doesn't change the end result, which is you're going to have to land someplace 10, 15 kilometers away, get in a vehicle and drive to the objective.
And I have no problem with that, other than I don't know the obsession with World War II. I get you want face-smashing combat, and it can break down to that moment. But there's a lot of mechanics before that we should be able to have and engage with sensors and BVR and other things. And I just, to me,
Roberts.
But why? But why? I mean, what is the purpose? It seems like it's like we're going to jam this one concept down everything's throat at the expense of all this other stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, the winner of this argument will be decided simply on the factor of, is it fun? Is it fun? Are all these measures they're going to, do they make the game fun? Do they enhance the experience? And if the answer is yes, I will take space magic all day long if the end result is a fun and engaging game. I don't want a boring game, but yet at least there's no space magic and we've got this fantastic lore system. Then I'll read that in a book. I'll watch Dune. I don't need that in my game. I'm happy for a fun and engaging experience that makes no sense. I'm all right with that.
Can we just have a little bit of logic, though? Because it's so immersive breaking when it doesn't make any sense to me. Give me a reason.
For those of us that fly simulators or flew real planes, yes. For the 99.9% of everybody else, they just go, it's a game. As Mektor said it, because it's his game and he's the boss. Laugh out loud. That's why.
Yeah,
he's nailed it.
I don't have to agree. I'm going to stay in my corner.
There was a thing they were said in a video a couple weeks ago. I forget which developer it was, but it pretty much summed up. We keep hearing them talking about. They keep harping on the quote from Chris Roberts: "Is you take it to realism and bring it back to fun," which is, so they're not aiming to make. We're not ever going to have true orbital mechanics, stuff like that. People got to give up having that harsh realism in the game.
Yeah,
the thing they said was
pods.
Yeah. They said was they specifically said we are not aiming for realism. We are aiming for believability and enjoyment. Now, we're probably really weak on believability right now.
We're devoid of any reality.
That at least shows where they're going with it. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one, that they're still working towards that.
There are things that we can live without, and then there are things that they've just got to give us. Point one, I've got to be able to set and communicate waypoints to other players. I've just got to be able to do that. And I need to be able to pick them. And we've got to have a map and a compass. There's just no way around those two things. They've got to add that to the game.
We got to have
part of that.
We got to have ground troops be able to call out and direct ships to help them as well. However that's done. It doesn't have to be a targeting pod, but we have to have that capability.
There's been a card that comes on and off the roadmap intermittently having to do with first-person radar. But they keep pushing it back probably because they're finding problems and having to work on it some more. So
see, and I don't mind with that.
I don't need first-person radar. I just need a coordinate system and a compass and some way to relay.
They're going to be tied together.
Waypoints.
I simply want to have Josh in my party. Josh runs out to the point. I see Josh's marker. I come across. I drop a bomb on Josh. And that handles the whole thing. That is my JTAC.
You should be attacking Isuzu because he has hair. See, we're in a different club, brother.
Yes, that's a single use, though.
But Isuzu doesn't constantly talk about targeting pods.
I don't care about a targeting pod. I care about capability. Give me individual radar. Give me a point of that I can go shoot the bad guy that my good guy is suffering from. That's all I care about.
I agree.
Yeah, we're going to get it in time. It will arrive.
But I also think playability, as Azuzu is pointing out, is most important to me. I want to enjoy the game mechanics. It's like the entire concept. Noam, you and I talked about this one or two shows ago. I don't want to sit there and wait to load boxes on a damn cargo ship. Just magic happen. Let me press on and continue the game. I'm not here to waste my time. And keep in mind, a lot of players are going to be 2 hours a week on Saturdays, and that's it. That's all we can afford. We don't want them spending 2 hours loading boxes. So next Saturday they come in there and then transport and sell off those boxes. Gameplay matters most.
I agree with you, and the whole reason that I came to ADI before we were even in Star Citizen was for group gameplay mechanics and being able to work together as a team. And I want that functionality. I want the functionality to where we can do the things Jay is talking about, and then we can work together as a team so that all the training that we do comes together and we do the hard part, right? The whole purpose of us is to do what you can't do on your own, work together as a team. With that, that's what I want. That's what I hope. So when I say targeting pod, I'm getting really specific, but that's the generalized goal. And we're probably coming up against a break that we have to take here, but I'm very passionate about this topic.
Hey there. Next thing we're going on to is talking about the new volumetric clouds over Microtech. You've seen those over Crusader, and we know the hit they've had there, but they definitely changed the look of the planet from orbit and on down. If you fly there for the new event down at New Babbage, you can't help but see them. And if you just set your spawn as New Babbage, you owe it to yourself to get in the ship and fly up and check it out. It's planet-wide now. Early on, it was just around the New Babbage area. There's probably a few more pictures in there to show as kind of like, yeah, this was coming over. I thought I'd show a different perspective instead of just coming over New Babbage. This is over kind of going down to one of the outposts on the surface. And I believe it's worthwhile. It really adds to the look. Instead of having that weird layer you hit about like so many thousand meters above the ground that you just kind of transition through. And it just seems more natural. They don't move currently, but I imagine that's coming at some point, one step at a time. There is a performance hit, just like with New Babbage, but thankfully they've added the option to actually turn it off if your system absolutely can't have it. I took these pictures with my system, and my 1080 GTX was crying for mercy because I had it turned up all the way at the time when I took those shots. And they plan to bring these to the other planets in later quarters. I think it's worth having, and if your system can't have it, you can turn them off or turn them down to medium. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, real quick. First, they're beautiful. They really have done a magnificent job on running these things. I mean, good googly moogly. It's like I'm looking at real life when I look at these clouds. Now, here's my advice: turn them off. Period. Turn them off, because one, you'll improve your own performance. Two, the concept: if I'm fighting another fighter and we want to go in the clouds, he wants to hide in the clouds. You turn him off. He's not hiding from you. So turn them off.
I think we need some cloud sheet detection.
What? True enough. True enough. But at least that was.
Hold
remember,
on, they can't hear me there. I apologize. I was saying, and I apologize, guys, that I love the clouds. They look amazing. I'm glad to have them. I just think it would be very wise for them to wait to implement this more broadly until after the GPU shortage of 2020, 2021, and what appears to be 2022 to be over. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're right, but I think that's probably why they gave us the option to turn it off right now. Maybe we may not have that forever for the reasons Jolly pointed out, is that people can hide in the clouds, but you can just turn it off. They want to have that ability for people to do that sort of thing. That's why they put the clouds there. So remember during 3.15.0 or no, it's at 3.14, you couldn't turn it off at all. It was just medium or higher. And generally, I leave it at medium, and my performance is good enough. It may matter to me more if I'm actually fighting in the atmosphere over Microtech. But for now, I'll leave them on. And you owe it to yourself just once, just to turn it up all the way, just to see how pretty they are. And then, like Jolly said, turn it off.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jolly just said, really. I think that's absolutely nailed it. Is the cloud tech the same as the kind of tech they're using for nebulas and the space clouds?
I don't think so. I think it's the same as what they're using for Orson.
Right, because I think it looks absolutely beautiful.
Sorry,
but I am hoping that there'll be some extra benefit to it. I think they look stunning, but I think it needs a bit more. I was hoping that it'd expand out to the nebulas and things like that, where I think it really will come into its own.
Yeah, have you noticed with the clouds? I think I've noticed. I haven't been able to determine for sure. They do, in fact, obscure your signal, don't they? Radar. When I seem to remember during Xenothreat, I would see threats go into some of the gas clouds and seem like they would drop off radar a lot quicker than normal. Or was that my imagination?
I couldn't comment. I did Xenothreat a few times. I really enjoyed it, but the nebula visuals looked awful the last time I did it, so I couldn't say. It shouldn't, though. It really shouldn't. That shouldn't be a mechanic at all.
Well, I don't know. I disagree. I mean, from a theoretical perspective, ionized colored gas would definitely cause some signal degradation or prevent you from being detected passively a lot better.
Yeah. What do you think, Polly?
I agree with clouds having an effect. As for the programming, I have to believe that the work that they did on the nebula clouds worked towards the cloud generation that they're doing on planets. That there has to be some sort of common programming backbone between the two systems. It may even be the same system, and they're just implementing it on the planet surface with a couple of tweaks to the programming. It would make sense to do that, because otherwise they would have to develop yet another system. And I got to say that the way this company has gone about building this game, making all of their tools as they do this, even if the game never gets out of alpha, they could license the tools they've developed and make all the money and more that they ever planned on making with a live game. So there's a lot of things that I think they can do with what they're working on. I haven't actually had a chance to see the volumetric clouds on Microtech. It's been dark every time, so it's on my to-do list.
Right.
But I do think that cloud obscuring is probably a planned feature behind putting clouds in the game, both planet side and in space. The ability to turn them off can be viewed as a cheat in that regard if that was a planned mechanic. It would, I guess, it would come down to do you want to play with the realism, or do you want to play remove the blinders and take advantage of the fact that your opponent can't see you, but you can see him.
I know my answer to that one.
Not a cheat. Speaking
It's
of
not a cheat.
cheating,
If I can do it by settings, it ain't a cheat.
That's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's talk about anti-cheat that was pulled out at the last second from 3.15.1.
Yeah, with no need. I don't think there's any need to show the links here because right now it's kind of been pulled back. During the 3.15.1, while it was being tested during PTU, they tested out using Easy Anti-Cheat, which is one of the protection programs that a lot of platforms use. I think it's from Epic Games, and they use this to look for people using certain cheat programs and certain macro type tools to clip through see through walls and various stuff like that. Why we need this at this point? It's a question. But they were running into issues mainly to do with I think Jolly, you said there's something like 2,000 Linux players who are active in this game, and they were having problems getting it to work. They were and at the last second, Easy Anti-Cheat got pulled out of the PTU in the last build, and so that's why what we got in live does not in fact have it. It would have effectively meant that until the problems were fixed, the Linux players would not be able to play the game at all. So they opted to not have this problem, smartly, not introduce this just in time for the sale. Why they're doing this now? My theory, it ties back to who was it talked about the Spartan being to do with theaters of war?
Zuzu.
Zuzu. I think maybe they're looking at this is the kind of thing they want to have in the game before Theaters of War hits again, because with first-person shooters, these type of cheats are a real problem. So I'm glad they didn't force it into 3.15.1, but it is something that's coming sooner or later. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fully in favor of anti-cheat. I've already seen a couple of cheats being done in the game. They weren't massive. I wasn't worried about them, but they are there. And so an anti-cheat system of some sort is needed. Whether this one's right or not, I don't know, but it is needed in the game.
Way too early, in my opinion. This should be one of the last things that they do as they get into the run-up for beta. Have it in, maybe 4 to 6 months before beta.
Well, maybe, Jay, the concept of let's try a few different anti-cheat software programs out there, find out which one works best, and that's the one we use for beta and then live.
Maybe. But again, I think we're way too early in the process. And I mean, they're doing wipes. They just did a wipe 3 months ago. Or not even that long ago. I think
it's way too early. You're absolutely right. Sorry, I was distracted by our guest star a second ago. She distracted me.
Okay.
but absolutely, yeah, it's way too early for anti-cheat. We need to hang on for a second. I think maybe. I hope they're just introducing it for a short period of time. Again, I do think it's because of Theatres of War. I really do. I think they just want to test it. I want to see what they've got, and I think they want people to break it, work through it, tear it apart. They want to find holes in it, and then they want to iterate from there and see if they can give us something robust. But exactly. It is too soon.
And anything that they're anything involving Theatres of War should be thrown down the garbage, onto the garbage heap of history.
Couldn't agree more. That is not. It is things like that. I do find.
I still think we should test anti-cheat now, as opposed to during beta or live.
No.
Let's figure out what's going on with this.
I'm in complete agreement that in alpha they should definitely get anti-cheat working and all the kinks worked out. I'm 100% in agreement that is an alpha task. But we all know that we're not 12 months before beta. We're much farther away than that. Probably, 24, 36 months before beta. And now is not the time to put the programming effort on that. It's too integrated in, and there will be lots of bugs that will break anti-cheat and do all sorts of stuff between now and then that they'll waste cycles on. And it's too soon. That's all I'm saying, Jolly. Definitely 6 months before beta, 4 months before beta, they've got to have the anti-cheat locked down, but that's not a 2 or 3 year process. There'll be 10 different anti-cheat software libraries that come out between now and then. Why would you start working on integrating one through, 2 or 3 years or more before you get to beta?
I can agree, Jay.
Mector puts it really well in chat. Let's solve desync first before we move on to anti-cheat. Yeah, right on, brother.
I mean, how poorly this has to be tuned to work under the current client is going to limit its effectiveness so much that I don't know if they're testing anti-cheat, if it would benefit them. I think, they're going to have to be much closer to a gold build or something similar to that before you want to start integrating anti-cheat.
Well, easy anti-cheat, they just added official Linux support like a couple months ago. So that probably was one of the things that spurred them to try it now. And they did it. But they did the right thing and pulled it out. So
yep,
I give them credit for that.
They did the right thing. It's just, why waste the labor on it when we have so many other critical bugs right now and so many critical features?
Yeah, if it wasn't free. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Polly what his thoughts were on anti-cheat.
It's certainly something they need in the game, but I agree it's a little early. I mean, I really don't have a lot to say on it just because I haven't experienced a great amount of cheating. I've seen people exploit bugs, but I haven't seen anyone using cheats personally. I'm sure that there are folks out there that are, but I just haven't seen it.
Well, and keep in mind, anti-cheat will not fix exploitation of bugs.
Correct.
So,
right.
Josh, any thoughts?
From someone who has come from a background of gaming that was heavily influenced by cheating for a lot of times, and I probably had some personal financial impact for it. I think you can take the previous hour of this show, list out all the things we talk about, and shove this about 50 items below it before I'm going to care.
And now I'm just back to you to wrap up.
Yeah, I agree with most everything everybody said. It was too soon to implement. They learned that, and I don't know whether it's too soon or not. Maybe the lesson they learned just from this PTU period would have been shortened a few days, probably, if they hadn't been trying to test out the anti-cheat stuff. That's probably what it cost them by doing it now. But then again, maybe that's going to cause them to better plan ahead for when they try again.
Fair enough. Jolly, last thoughts on anti-cheat?
Yeah, earlier the better.
Okay. Are you sure you've been seeing people do cheats versus
yes, no. I've been on I went out to go to my Harbinger one time. I had a character come out there with me wearing a t-shirt and shorts on the pad. I'm in space on a pad, and she's trying to get into my Harbinger. It's like, you son of a bee.
Maybe she thought you were cute.
Yeah. Look at me.
It's part of the mustache.
Really?
No, that's not a
mustache. She's in a mustache.
That's exploiting a bug.
So
that's
I
not a cheat.
closed up my Harbinger and went back inside. It's like, no, that was a player using a hack or exploit, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But no, the cheats are out there. We know they're there.
I know there's some out there, but I don't know that one may have been a bug that they were exploiting. But
bug.
Well, but the thing to keep in mind is when we talk about anti-cheat software, it won't solve any bugs.
won't solve the problems that are written to the software that the developer made. I agree completely.
Correct.
But it'll prevent folks. To be honest, honestly, Jay, I think that particular example was a cheat, not a bug.
Okay.
Because I couldn't. I tried to do it myself, but I couldn't do it. So that's a cheat.
Okay. Did you have the exact same T-shirt? Well, no, you laughed. But
No, I did not.
Or
All
you
it
would've
would-
been
Where she got the
sex,
shorts,
Apparently
to be
that
honest.
matters sometimes.
It's a midriff T-shirt. I mean, a female character midriff T-shirt, a
I-
pair
I-
of shorty shorts.
I
Be
understand that.
blonde and follow me out to her harbinger on a pad.
I'm not
Hey.
saying. I'm
Nope,
just
didn't do
saying.
that.
All it would
Didn't do
take
that,
is
Dave. I did not do that. My
Fair
family.
enough. Fair enough. I'll shut up. I
Yeah,
just throw it out there.
I don't think we need Jolly running around in Daisy Dukes.
No. Oh. It could be worse. That could be me running around in Daisy Dukes, and then all of you would be blind. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should wear Daisy Dukes and dance
No.
around for you guys
Oh,
on the
please.
episode.
No. You wear hard shorts. It's okay, Jay. Not Daisy Dukes, please.
I'll start a GoFundMe.
Okay. Oh God, I'm gonna start to cough. Nom, do you want to take over talking through these last couple of video issues that we've got here, or ideas that they've come up with?
Oh, sorry, Miss. Some details. They've had a couple of good Star Citizen lives and Inside Star Citizens where they've expanded on some things, just to answer a lot of things. People speculating about what's coming or what the intent was, and I just like to reiterate this just to get it across. First off, the local inventory we see currently when you hit I and you see it's like whether you're at your location or in your ship, these are placeholders. They eventually plan for when you buy something, it gets delivered not just to a general vague holding bag for that location. You have to direct it towards a container in a ship or in a personal hangar or whatever. It is a placeholder. People need to get that across. People are trying to talk about how they want it to work. They're thinking ahead, thinking that that's always going to be there, and it's not going to be. It's all going to be actual containers, be it backpacks, lockers, that kind of thing. I think that we all in agreement on that, right? That's what's intended.
Yep. One could only hope because the current system sucks.
Right. Well, the thing is, the drag and drop interface is still going to be there. A lot of people are asking for a list option, which I don't think we're ever going to get that. They have said they're I think it was like a yesterday's QA. They do want to have an option where you can do multi-select and other stuff like that to make it a bit more usable. And no.
As our
In
producers
they
telling
added
us.
double click finally. Yeah, there's
Yes.
little bits and pieces of quality of life stuff is being added, and I'm sure that'll continue to go and get expanded on. Nothing much more to say on that until they actually add more to comment on.
It's the current methodology is painful. It's so bad. It's the sort the check boxes on the sort boxes are 3 times bigger than the little boxes you're clicking on. They don't line up evenly. It's
right.
There's an item limit to what you can have in your inventory, and trying to figure out you've hit that limit or not. It's crap. It's
it's still light years from what it was in the early PTU for it. So, see what comes out in 3.16 will tell whether they're actually going to improve on that or not. The other thing is vehicle management. How do you change out weapons, shields, etc. on a ship? You open up your mobi-glass. Well, just like with the personal gear, that's going to go away. That's going to be depreciated, and they're going to have a hangar management app that you're going to have for managing for managing that. It's going to be similar to our personal inventory. Thoughts on that? I mean, the another mobi-glass option getting scrubbed.
As
I
a
like it. Go ahead.
as a director of MSS and having engineers under my division, I would hope that they would get rid of the mobi-glass and actually allow me to remove and replace components physicalized in the game. because that's what the engineers would be for, right? Being able to use a tractor or some sort of rigging to take the larger ones that can't be lifted by one or two people, so size 2 and up, probably even size 1. But being able to do that, work with the subcomponents, replace, modify, those kind of things, I think need to be physicalized so that they can be interacted and moved in the game, not just on a mobiGlas.
It's funny, Polly. Actually, I'll disagree with this. Only for the simple reason I don't want to slow down gameplay. I don't want, if I want to put an Atlas drive on a Prospector, I don't have to wait for engineers to come along, physically move that onto my ship and install it. And that may be what they're going to have happen, but that's not what I want. I want to be able to do a click, and Atlas drive is down my ship. Let's go play the game. That's just my personal opinion. Again, we go back to a previous discussion where I'm not big on. I'm trying to be a citizen in a futuristic world. No, I want to play a game 2 or 3 hours a day, and that's about it. So that's where I'm concerned about if RSI or CI comes into this. Let's try to add more and more realism to the game as opposed to playing the game and having fun with the game. It's just my own opinion, though.
Well, right.
I think it's a really good point as well. I also think we need some sort of delivery system in game as well. So if we're going to have components, we're going to have ships, we're going to have everything spread out across multiple solar systems. I want a Bezos bot that I can pay a small fee and he primes me my, shield components from another system and it's delivered rapidly and quickly. I don't want to have to take a ship thinking, right, where are my components? I've got some of them over here, I've got some of them over there. I'm going to be inventory managing across multiple planets and solar systems. That isn't fun. Absolutely agree, Jolly. This needs to be a fun game. There needs to be explanations, but there also needs to be mechanics. And if there's a cost associated with that, that's fine. I get that Bezos bot is not going to be cheap. There'll be a fee. You might get it slowly or quickly, whichever. Fine. You might be able to get a quick hour delivery from the next solar system over. That's great. But we're going to need systems in place like that if we're going to have this type of inventory management system.
It's funny. It's funny, Azuzu. It's kind of like the refining system right now, where we have a choice: quick, fast, cheap, and you get to make your own decision. And we make the decision based upon that. Same should hold true for all the other aspects of the game.
Well,
there's refining right.
There's an analog that they're already talking about that's partly in game right now with cargo mechanics, right? So the way they were discussing it with the stevedores, right? Depending on the port you go to, you're going to have a limited number of those guys available to move your cargo, and depending on what ship you're flying, you can either wait for them to get to you and then pay for their services, or you can bring your improv and move the boxes yourself. And if you do it that way, it eliminates the wait, and you don't waste the credits that you would have spent on services to have the port facilities do it for you. So why not do the same thing with the engineering side? I can go to the Mike's soup shop and have him replace the components, and it's done in a matter of time. Or I can have players, because this game is about multiplayer functionality, not just single player functionality. And I can have players come in and do that work, replace the components, do the optimization. That, I think, would solve both problems. And I'm all for that, because, otherwise, no sense having engineers, right?
Well, only if they fly with the speed and precision that Azuzu does with dual sticks. I want to see them waste none of my time when they bring me my stuff.
Hey, Polly, real quick. Maybe we shouldn't have engineers.
No.
I'll be honest. Maybe that
should
not exist at all. And you brought up a great number of points, and I agree with what you're saying there. But if it's working against gameplay, I'd rather get rid of it. Let's eliminate engineers. Medic is a matter of knowledge. It's not a matter of skill. You don't really need medics. Just, do you know it or do you not? So gameplay is what I'm really interested in.
Well, but isn't one of the features of gameplay to get down to a point where you're not losing medium and large size
Huh.
ships to
So Jay, you're
explosions.
an RPG gamer now?
No,
You're
I'm
an
not.
RPGer.
I'm not.
Good
I'm
googly
not.
moogly.
I'm definitely not.
Jay's an RPGer.
No.
Let me
No.
roll this die.
There's a middle
Oh,
ground here.
natural
There's
20.
hold on. I'm talking about something. Hear me out, okay? What I'm saying is that let's say that you have a large ship. Let's use a Idris or a Hammerhead. Let's use a Hammerhead or a Carrack. And I get into battle, and the survivability of the hull needs to go way up, and I think armor will do a lot of that. But the flip side of that is that you need to be able to damage and disable these ships without blowing them up. I think we're all in agreement that the current mechanic where every ship blows up every time is not the right mechanic for long-term gameplay.
That's not their intent either.
It's not their intent. And so
No, they've talked about that before. That was one of the things I was going to. I don't think I know if I got it in this list, but hull HP is a placeholder as well. With armor, you're also going to have penetration, and you're going to have physicalized components where a ship like the Ion, Ion can punch through and hit like a power coupling or something and take out a ship system. That's where we're going. Taking out components of a ship versus the total hull HP. That is a placeholder. Then they've said as much at past time.
But then we're going to lose our beautiful explosions.
No,
No,
you won't
see,
lose your beautiful explosions. You'll either have to fire a lot more, or they'll happen a lot less often.
If every battle ends in a gas cloud, there is no salvage.
Exactly.
And there, yeah. So, and that's not completely true, Polly. But let's put a pin in that for a second. What I'm saying is that at some point you're gonna take damage that has to be repaired. And in larger ships where you eke out a win, but you've taken a ton of damage, you're going to need some kind of gameplay to have all those other players with you in larger ships to have something to do, Jolly. And I'm in complete agreement. There's a fine line between sitting at space dock and switching out components, and that should be near instantaneous, sub 3 to 5 minute process. I think we could agree, right? Yeah. I pull something up, I order my stuff, and within 2, 3, 4 minutes, it's done. I can take off with my ship. That is not.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think it should be instant. Why am I wasting my time for 2 to 3 minutes?
Okay, make it instantaneous.
But instantaneous. Sure. Go ahead.
At a facility. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm out in the middle of space and I blow a power, a power relay or something like that, I'm going to need to replace it or fix it. Agreed?
Yes.
And therefore, you're going to need engineers for that.
If you have the component on board. But Jay, I haven't seen the gameplay yet. Not even mentioned.
But they do mention it.
They've
mentioned it.
Yeah, they did have talked about, along with physicalized components and being able to destroy those, is also going to be the ability to swap out a blown engine or a blown quantum drive or something like that. That is an option. That is a plan.
Yep. Now I'm in complete agreement. I think this whole unload it by hand or have to sit around and drink coffee while you wait for your whole sea to unload is ridiculous. I do think that there needs to be some type of investment in time, that a whole sea is going to get unloaded slower than a hull A, but I think it's silly to some of the detail they're going into there. I think you've got to make that much more streamlined, where the whole purpose of these places where you're delivering to have automated cargo handling, and it happens in seconds or minutes, depending on how big of a ship you're talking about, but you're not physically manhandling cargo.
I still want space magic to occur. I'm not interested in wasting my time for crap to happen. Give me space
time
magic.
Should be spent flying the ship.
Bingo. Yes, Josh. Yes.
Hold on. But you spend time on a claim. It's not instantaneous.
But you can do other things while the claim is going. So that's where it's going to come down to.
Real quick, Gnome. I took my one ship out to some location, and now with the new mechanics, which I agree with massively, That's my one ship. I'm now either loading or unloading it. I can't do something else. That's my one ship there.
Well, with the mining, with the refining thing here, you've dropped off the refining material and the job's going. You can, in fact, take that ship back out.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, with the cargo, it just depends. I agree that they're getting a little crazy in their expectation of how long they're gonna make you take to have that cargo unloaded.
I think
there's a middle ground. Yeah, so,
I think there's a middle ground.
Yeah, think about it, a lot of times you go to an R&R station, you're going to want to go to the Galleria and go and buy some things, restock on stuff.
I don't want to buy anything. Why am I wasting my time here in the game doing nothing?
I don't think having a zero-time loading is workable. It's not because what you're going to have there is ships. If you have the zero-time load, unload, your big hulls are just basically going to be buying everything, and the little guys are going to be left holding the bag. They have to have that balance.
No,
John, you're going to need to take a break and get yourself a citrus beef burrito and a fizz cola. I mean, that's going to happen.
No, he's not, because he's going to have all that stuff sitting in crates in his cockpit, along with Depends diapers and everything else. But what I'm saying is, Jolly, I agree with you. This to a certain extent, but I think there's a middle ground that is not bad, and that is, what if loading or unloading a hull C took 90 seconds?
All right.
Or 300 seconds max, somewhere in that ballpark, as a game mechanic to, simulate that the robot magic has to happen, but it's not instantaneous.
And I would be great with that if during that 90 seconds, I can also buy whatever supplies I need from the same terminal, the food and the water, and it gets space magicked onto my ship too.
Yeah, I think that I don't think you need hour-long waits or day-long waits. I am in complete agreement on that this is different than refinery, but you need some level of wait that is reasonably accessible, and it needs to be, even for large hull E's, in the single-digit number of minutes.
And maybe Jolly can bribe the local union boss to shave a few minutes off of that.
I certainly will if I can. Look, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm retired. I've got plenty of time to play the game, as many hours as I want to. But most players of SC do not have that time. They are 2, maybe 3 hours on a Saturday. They're lucky a Sunday, and that's it. And having them waste their time doing this, waiting around for space magic to occur, is bad for the game.
I agree. Now, the flip side of that is being that I see that completely different from the void of needing an engineer for emergency repairs or emergency maintenance. And so I do think that you need a mechanic in game that when you're away from space dock and you're out and about and you take damage for whatever reason, that you may have to know how to repair and have spare components on board to deal with that incident from an engineering perspective. And it may take you a few minutes to fix your ship, but that's part of the gameplay.
What makes an engineer an engineer?
The ability to know what component goes where. That's, I mean, it doesn't need to be.
Square goes in square hole.
Yes.
Circle goes in circle hole.
Yes.
We're not talking about plane.
You're not talking about rocket science. No, I completely.
I don't know. I'm going for you. Can you go through that one more time? Square goes there again.
Let's take this
I need to write this down.
Hey, the starboard shields are burnt out. I need to know to go where in the ship I need to go to press the button to open the panel so I can switch.
It's knowledge based.
It's completely knowledge based.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but consider this case, right? They already have wear built into the game for all things, and you can have thrust imbalances and misfires that we're already seeing in game, right? If you're out for an extended period of time and you're not hitting a pad to keep up with your repairs, and then next thing you know, all of your bottom thrusters are no longer firing and you're having difficulties landing, right? While you're in space, you go EVA, you take your repair tool, you do some minor repairs on the thrust nozzles, and now you can land. Or you have that misfire that happens and your quantum drive now leaves you stranded somewhere in between Arc L1 and her L5. And you can put up a beacon and wait for someone to come get you so that you can get to a station and claim your ship. Or you can make a small repair that will allow you to get to a station so that you can get the full repair, right? Having the ability to do that, I think, will pay for itself in game. It's a good mechanic. It's something that should be able to be seen from the engineering panel, because that really should be a thing. And it should have some diagnostic ability to it.
And Pulley, that may indeed develop. That multi-tool, I think, is totally underutilized right now. And I'm hoping that it expands much more. Now, they add the medical part of it. Hey, that's great. But the rest of that tool really has not been exploited. And repairing a portion of the multi-tool isn't in the game yet. I hope it does become, and what you described does come to happen.
Well, I imagine it's going to be like the medical tool, where if you use the multi-tool, it will do the job, but you have no visibility on exactly what you've done. Whereas if you use the bespoke tool, you can see what the current state is, you can modify the effects to apply a specific state, and then see what the end result is when you're done with it. That's the difference between the lifeguard attachment for the multi-tool and the Cure Life medgun. There is a difference.
So I think we've beat this one to death. And I'm getting reports that we're having some issues with the stream. The producers giving me the bandwidth issue signal. So I think what we're going to do is let's just go and do closing thoughts here real quick. We're already at the 2-hour mark almost. And we'll call it and rehash the rest of this stuff on the next episode. And so, Jolly, what are your closing thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't happy about losing 11 million credits to go 315, but whatever. I'm having some trouble trying to figure out what missions are paying well, or trading or mining so far in 15.1. I'll figure it out eventually. I did buy some ships, so I'll probably buy some more. And my wife hates me. That's all I have to say.
Nom,
but the blonde girl likes you.
Hey.
Nom, what about you? Any closing thoughts?
Same as Jolly. I'm feeling out what's paying well or not. I don't have much in the way of big cargo haulers or mining ships yet, but I like having a goal to work toward. The main thing I can tell people is with the new mechanics of inventory and death, don't wear what you don't want to lose. If you're going bounty hunting, wear the noob suit or whatever they give you when you wake up in the hospital. As far as the helmet and suit, don't take more weapons and stuff than you need. I've already had it where I got careless and I had on all the gear I like to have, picked out my core and all that, had to travel to Grimhex to get this or that. And I'm flying into Everest Harbor and a call comes in and I look up just in time to see my ship slam into the station. And that was just a bad feeling to lose all that gear I spent all that time loading up and getting. So don't take crazy chances with having stuff you don't need at the time, and you'll have more fun. Yep. So that's what I got to say.
Josh, any last thoughts?
I'm enjoying it so far. I do like that there's some context and risk. I do want to see this get worked out a little better because I've had some random things where I've lost some inventory or whatnot. I hope we get, some cool ships coming up with the show. I do think there's going to be some surprises, so looking forward to that, and we'll see what happens.
Azuzu, closing thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show. It's nice to be on the Big Brother version. Thanks for having me on.
Wow.
Are you going to come back?
Did that one? Yeah, absolutely. If I'm welcome back, I don't know. I might have to cut short the hair jokes. Anyway,
shave your head.
I'll
you can make all the hair jokes you want. I'm fine with it.
So yeah, I'll leave those short. I think we're going to get the mobile refinery. I think that's going to be the next ship that's announced during this Expo week. I think that's going to be that's one of my predictions. I also think we're going to get something else. I think there's something else waiting towards the end of the week that I'm going to looking forward to. I think we're going to get something pretty big. That's just my prediction. I'm hoping so. Otherwise, this week's going to be quite dull.
Fair enough. And last but definitely not least, Polly, any final thoughts?
Happy to be here. Glad you guys invited me. I'm excited that we actually have medical gameplay now. I think there's still a lot more work to be done with it, and perhaps some additional balancing. The ability to help your buddy and actually apply meds is, I've used it a couple of times in bunker missions, but more often than not, you'll have a case where one of the bad guys just unloads and he's got the Hollywood Infinite magazine and he just keeps shooting. There is no incapacitation timer because you've basically been turned to pulp. So they need to do some work on that. But I'm happy to see it. And hopefully they continue to refine it so that it becomes something that's required on an FPS op, or your chances of success are going to be limited.
I agree. Well, my closing thoughts are it was a great show. We went long and still had a lot of material left. But that's because Jolly and I like to argue back and forth like bickering old guys. We will be back December 18th at 2 p.m. Central. Again, December 18th, 2 p.m. Central. So again, another EU friendly time. And so hopefully we'll see you guys at the next show. And see you in the verse. Bye.
All right.